CloudDB, shaping your new normal.
Welcome everyone to the 2021 APEC Groundbreakers virtual tour. We have this year's a little bit like last year, with just over 145 sessions with just over 100 speakers, and with many normal sessions, workshops, and hands-on labs, and also sessions on 4 different languages. Today we have Gleb Otochkin here giving a great session about building dashboard in the cloud using APEX and OCI free tier. And if you have any questions during the session, please post them in the chat box in the platform, and Gleb will be answering our questions by the end of the webinar. If you have any technical issues or problems, also please use the same chat, and I will try to help you the most I can. Without any more further ado, I would like to leave you with Gleb and his amazing session. Gleb, is all yours.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome again to the groundbreaking tour, APEC. We are going to talk about building in the cloud and how we can help ourselves to save our pockets sometimes from unpredictable probably charges, and just create better interface to understand how we build and for what. So let me start the slideshow and see if it works. Right. So a couple of words about myself, and please be vocal if you don't hear something or you have some technical problems and you don't see, for example, slides. Right now I'm showing myself in the finish line of one of the marathons and my hometown, Ottawa, Canada, where I live, and how it looks pretty good, right?
Gleb, yeah. I still seeing your opening PowerPoint, the green one with the title.
All right.
Now I'm showing your correct one. Now it's showing the correct one. Now I can see you.
Okay. All right. So something doesn't work with the slideshow, so I will be using that way. All right. Okay, and so I'm working with data for a long time. Used to work with tons of database tuning, performance tuning, real application cluster. I work with big data and replication now. I'm working primarily with cloud technologies. Here are my contacts: gleb.otochkin@sourcegroup.com. My blog gleb.ca, and my Twitter handle sky_VST. So you can contact me by any of those ways, and I like questions. I like if you ask questions, so don't be shy. Couple of words about our company. We work with since 2010 with different big and small clients, primarily big one, and started, as a matter of fact, in Sydney, Australia in 2010 as a DevOps consultant for some financial institutions. So a couple of words why we are talking about that and why I spent time investigating that subject. In the cloud, we build for different services by different ways. And we have, for example, fully predictable and stable monthly charges. In Oracle Cloud, for example, it is Oracle Exadata Cloud Service or Oracle Bare Metal, when you pay every month for that particular hardware as a rental fee. And you know exactly how much you're going to pay during the entire year. Nothing unexpected here. Some predictable but changing charges, like you create a permanent VMs, which is always on, always running, and you know exactly the shape and how much you're going to pay by the end of the month. some fast connect or any other network related fees, which are based on an original shape like load balancer, fast connect, and anything else. And you know exactly how much you're going to pay. But on the same time, you have some kind of workload dependent charges. And those charges depend on how much workload you have. For example, how much network egress you have. Auto-scaling, how many instances will be triggered for you. So those changes, you anticipate them, but they depend on workload. And you know that on Black Friday, on this week, you're going to pay way more than next week. And that charges are kind of expected. But we have also unpredictable and sporadic usage of the cloud resources. And that is most, from my point of view, dangerous and non-pleasant surprises you can get by the end of the month when you get your bill from Oracle. And it could be runaway VMs from developers. It could be runaway VMs from improperly set up auto-scaling, some network spikes. Backups, as a matter of fact, I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day, and he mentioned that backup, somebody set up backup to Oracle OCI file storage system. And that is all right. That is totally fine. But if you have databases with 100 terabytes and backups of 100 terabytes, considering that file storage service in Oracle Cloud almost 10 times more costly than, for example, object storage, it can be quite huge bill by the end of the month. So that was, for example, unpredictable charge, and it would be great to catch it earlier than later. So that is why in one point of time, I started to look more and more. And as a matter of fact, right now we have tons of great resources in Oracle Cloud. We have Oracle cost analysis, which provides beautiful reports with different dimensions and everything else, much better than it used to be when I started to work with my own billing dashboards. You have cost and usage reports, which are basis for some custom solutions and more deep analysis. You have, of course, PDF invoices, which don't really help you to catch up at early any kind of runaway VMs, but still good for reference. You have budgets. You can set up budget for your compartment and everything else, and then you can get an alert based on that budget of forecast of your expenditure by the end of the month, or for actual like crossing some kind of threshold. And of course, you have Cloud Advisor in Oracle Cloud. And let me just show you really quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Stop sharing, and let me share another share screen, and let me share my browser. So, where is Chrome? Maybe better. Share entire screen. Share. All right. Let me share entire screen, and I show you in the Chrome. So if we go to the cloud and governance and administration, first I mentioned already a cost analysis, and in cost analysis you have tons of different dimensions. It is my own tenancy, so it shows 0. It runs actually the application, APEX application, and some other applications, even my entire blog inside. But you can see I spent 0 money. So you can put a lot of dimensions for your reports, dates, how you want to represent the service. So it is a great tool for analysis. Of course, you have cost and usage reports with all the CSV files, zip CSV files. You can set up budgets, I mentioned, and when you create a budget, you can put different budget rules, forecast spend, absolute amount, percent of budget, and you can base it on compartment or on the tag. So that is what you can do, and it can provide some kind of email notification about that, and it will tell, according to our prediction, you're going to spend, you are already crossing threshold, and by the end of the month you will spend more than your budget. So that kind of email you can get. So that's great too. Invoices, again, you can get it in PDF format and so on. But what I like, really like, it is Cloud Advisor. That is great too. So it has, Oracle Cloud Advisor has a cost management. And it has, in cost management, it has some kind of order. You have some critical issue, high, medium, low, minor issues. And you have 2 issues you can implement and save some money. So, and when you go there, of course, you go and see what exactly can be done and how much money you can spend. So far, according to that report, I can save $0, which is quite expected. So let's go back to my slides and talk about what I started to do with that when I, all right, where is it? That one, right. So that's great, but what kind of changes we have? We have problem with flexibility in reporting. You have predefined dimensions and report, but if you want something else, you can't really change anything. You have what you have, and it is public cloud, and you're gonna have it in such a way how it is developed. You don't have too much flexibility. You don't have too much flexibility about how you're going to be getting alert notifications regarding your budgets. By the way, budgets will not stop billing. Budgets is only for notifications. So you can set a budget like $100 per month per your compartment, but it doesn't mean your billing will stop. No, the budget, it is just measurement that, all right, we are spending more than $100. I'm going to send you alert about that, but not really stop anything. Also, if you want some kind of deep analysis and dig inside your expenditure in the cloud, you can't really do it with any of those tools. And advisor notification and actions are great, but maybe you want a little bit more. So when I started to work with it, I asked myself, can I do something about that? And can I develop my own interface where I have free hands and I want how I want and how I want monitor and how I want report and everything else. And as a matter of fact, I was working with not one tenancy, but several tenancies. And apparently the existing interface cannot provide cross-section report for all my tenancies. So also, Oracle came with Oracle OCI free tier. We all know it is autonomous database plus a couple of virtual machines plus new one ARM virtual machines. But on that time, we didn't have ARM. And you know, the autonomous is coming with APEX, which is great development interface, low-code development interface, and APEX has REST API. So this is how it started. How I'm using it right now. What I have right now, I have, of course, autonomous database with the APEX interface. And the database is using a table with the data. How the table is getting refreshed. So in Oracle Cloud has a special bucket for each tenancy. That bucket is storage for your OCI billing reports. You could see that CSV, gzip reports I was showing just a couple of slides before. So all those reports are stored in that bucket. And we have actual access to that bucket, and we can get that report to your database. How we can get it? That is not really difficult at all. So in Oracle Autonomous Database, you have DBMS Cloud package. And using DBMS Cloud package, you can list all those reports, and you can get those reports to your table in Autonomous Database. So DBMS Cloud, first what you do, you list the reports to work with. So you get the list of reports. And what I am doing in my Autonomous Database, I have a list already downloaded reports. And it has not only report name, but also the checksum and date and everything else when it was downloaded. Then I compare the list of my downloaded report with list reports in Oracle bucket to understand which report is not yet in my table. So, and get only reports which were not successfully uploaded to my database. To upload report, I'm using the copy data procedure. And the copy data procedure has a parameter format. And that format itself has subparameters inside. The format actually is written as a JSON file. And what I'm particularly using for that, what kind of options? I'm using compression to automatically uncompress data because I don't need to intermediate storage for that in that case. I put, of course, comma as delimiter, skip header because I don't need that header in each CSV file. First line will be skipped. Blank as no, ignore missing columns because sometimes you don't have all the values for all columns. And I am transforming that date in from string varchar to actual date inside database, which helps me with partitioning of my actual table. So that's what I'm doing. So that is example what kind of options we have. We DBMS Cloud, copy data, table name, credentials, file field, and everything else. So that is how I'm loading the data. So how often it works? In reality, it works just once per day. You don't need more than once because the reports are uploaded once or twice per day only. It is not like they're uploading all the time. As a matter of fact, from my point of view, Oracle is doing a really good job lately because you have delay less than a day in your data. When we started, it was 2-3 days before actual billing data were available for upload. Now it is quite quick. It is in line with any other public provider like Google, Amazon, or Azure. They all trying to keep as much as possible, but again, it is not instant upload like you spend 2 hours of your virtual machine and it will be on report. No, it is not going to happen. And when we do go inside Oracle Public Cloud to cost analysis interface, it will be exactly the same data as we uploaded to our database because they're based on the same, not really technology, but they're based on the same data. So that is how I work with the data. But it is not how I started. In reality, what you can get using APEX and Autonomous Database, you are not probably, in that case, using a database itself, but you're using APEX as an application tool. So APEX can use OCI REST API to go and connect to Oracle billing REST API and get data directly from Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. It's not going to be something different about the data. It will be the same data, but you are not going to store any data inside your Autonomous Database. It is the way how I started first. First, I was not loading the data to my database. I was using only APEX. I'm getting to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and getting my data directly. couple of problems with that. So the first problem is performance. Performance was sometimes quite bad. I don't know why it was, but sometimes you got that spinning circle endlessly, and you're not getting the data in time. So it was not really great user experience. The second, when it switched from version 1 to version 2, I was getting much more problem with my APEX application. It was not working so reliable as before. Again, maybe it is much better right now. I haven't tried maybe the last 3 months, just because I'm using actual gzip reports instead of direct APEX, primarily because of performance problem. Maybe I could solve other problems with endpoints and everything else, but performance was not really great. So let's talk about other way how it can be done. And as a matter of fact, how it was done by Oracle. Oracle has done it using Python and CX Oracle module for Python. So the source of the data exactly the same. It's exactly the same OCI billing bucket. But we are not using DBMS Cloud for that. We're using the Python script to get the data from OCI billing bucket, transform it, and insert the data using Python CX _ Oracle module directly to Autonomous Database. And from Autonomous Database, we using the same APEX interface to get your application with all the data and everything else. So is it better or worse? I would say it's both. Let's talk about pros and cons for that approach. First of all, I think it is way more universal because you can get data from different providers. You are fully flexible how you develop your Python application, how you handle different formats, different dates, data types, different number of columns to get the data inside your application. That's great. And I think it is really, really big value. Can be used for non-Oracle cloud vendors, of course, you can use free tier VMs as well. So you don't need to pay for anything. The problem, the intermediate host, when the Autonomous Database is quite reliable and actually it is just one PDB in big Oracle database, it means it is much more reliable. If one host going down, it will be automatically moved to another host. So it is high available. But intermediate host, which is loading the data, you can consider it as a single point of error, really. In that case, you need to think how to provide high availability, handle of errors when it is not working, when it is working. So that's kind of problem. So you require a schedule running on the box, probably simple cron tab or anything else. And of course, changes in CSV break the procedure, but that problem can happen with your DBMS Cloud as well. Depending, for example, my package for loading the data, probably 60% or 70% of the code inside procedure is just handling of different errors. Because Oracle several times changing some CSV format and it was breaking my code. And Oracle has ready-to-go implementation in GitHub, so you can go directly to GitHub, download that usage report to ADW, and try it by yourself. It is quite good procedure, quite good documentation, and it is getting updated all the time. So it is live, it is there, and you can do it in any point of time. It is easy. You get your Oracle subscription, get your ADW or ATP database, and get your reports running. So that's another way. And Also, what I was testing and what I was trying to make working is Oracle Data Integration Service. The source for data is exactly the same. The data integration cannot work directly with OCI billing bucket. That was some kind of limitation because you have to provide direct permission to data integration service to get the data from OCI billing bucket, but you are not admin of that bucket because it is Oracle own tenancy inside Oracle. So you don't have access as administrator to that bucket owned by Oracle. So what you can do, you can create an intermediate program with VM, which Python plus OCI SDK get the data to that VM. And then you are going to work with data integration and put the data to autonomous database. I hit a couple of problems with that. The problem with name of the columns and those names of the columns were breaking data integration tool. Again, everything probably is solvable with the time, but in my point of view, it is even more bulkier than any other approach. So I don't think I would spend too much time for that with that approach. It is possible, and it is probably a cool thing to develop, but I don't think it is practical too much right now. So when we talk about the Oracle Autonomous Database, we all know that free tier has a limit how much data you can store. So first question, how much takes one record? In ATP, Oracle Autonomous Transaction Processing, it is 500 bytes per row. In how it translates, it is about 80 megabytes per month for light usage in OCI. In ADW, the same 500 bytes per row, but only 20 megabytes on storage because ADW apply automatic compression by default. Partitioning and HCC compression on ATP from other side, you cannot use partitioning on ADW, but partitioning and HCC compression on ATP can reduce that 80 megabytes per month to 4 megabytes per month. So 5 times less space than in ADW. It is why I prefer ATP, where I have way more flexibility how I can handle my data. And partitioning improves performance for your reporting, for your dashboard, for everything, because it is how it works with the segments. So that is probably my choice and my recommendation. If you are choosing between ATP and ADW, choose ATP. APEX part. So what kind of options you can use for user interface? You can use interactive reports, which is just simple grid. You can use classic reports with predefined columns. You can use chart, drill down reports. So you have all options what you can do. So let me show you, for example, front end for the Oracle Python approach, Oracle GitHub project. Let me go and let me stop sharing and go and try share my entire screen and go to the Google Chrome. And here are the Oracle reports. So it is created by Eddie Zohar, and it is supported, and last update probably was a week or two ago. So you can go through all the data, and also I can actually show you how I can actually download some data. Let me check when latest date loaded was 14th of November. And it is tenant name Dima1, Dima2. Let me actually go and run it. So let me go expert GNS admin. go to the reports and run report for Gemma 1. Hopefully it will work. Let's see. Haven't run it for some time. Okay. And here we go. Just automatically going to the database and checking what kind of last file has been loaded already, and started to process some reports which were not loaded yet. And you can see that it is loading not only cost report, but also usage report. It is merge completed, statistic completed. So let's have a look another one for Gemma 2. All right. It takes some time. But again, even if it takes some time, it's completed. Let's go and try to refresh and see if the date. Yes, you can see that last date uploaded was Tuesday, right? So, and the same way you can do it for example, I have a couple of Gemma tenancy I'm using for that. The same way you just download the reports and everything else will be working the same way. So that is Oracle interface. And again, you have quite a few reports. You have usage over time, cost analysis, and what you can do, you can use that Oracle developed interface as a starting point for your proper dashboard. You can start from that, and then you can develop it with all your requirements and needs. And again, it is fully accessible. You download, you open, you have full access to your internal APEX interface. So, and let's have a look to another one I was using. It is a DIMA interface. It is not the production one. Of course, I cannot show the production because it has production data. Right. It is slightly different. It is different approach. It is not only interface for billing. As a matter of fact, it is slightly different. And you have all the dashboard and everything else, what you really need. You can create a billing report for your tenant. If you are a service provider, it is quite useful. And if you are not service provider, you can create a report for your management, how that tenancy is being used, what kind of information. I think the Gemma 2 doesn't really have it. It is my own tenancy, so it doesn't have too much. And in administration, of course, you can create users, you can add tenancy, you just provide all the tenancy name, OCI ID, user ID, private key, and everything else. It is using private key and application to connect to the Oracle Cloud and get the data from there. So let me switch back, stop sharing, and share back my presentation. What is it? Presentation. That one. So here's the two approach. And when we talk about the additional features, so just remember, autonomous database, it is not just database to store your data. What you can do inside, you can apply different metric threshold and analysis to your data. You have full data about your usage in the cloud. So early spending prediction and alerts. You can use either linear prediction using sliding window, and here the example what means sliding window. So, for example, you have current spending some amount of money, right? And you have data how much you spent for the last 5 days. And you can, based on that spending for the last 5 days, calculate how many days left to the end of the month, and apply that value per day and understand how much you're probably gonna spend by the end of the month. And if it is more than your threshold, you can send email directly from autonomous database. You can send email to yourself and tell, hey, we are spending too much, or we have something unusual. To find something unusual, you can use Oracle Machine Learning. And Oracle Machine Learning can apply the machine learning algorithm to your data based on model and your, for example, applied algorithm in machine learning, like forest or anything else, and or regression, and tell that we expected, and here we have some kind of unexpected load. So that unexpected can be found by machine learning and send you as an email. So was I successful with it? Not really, because what I found in my cases, unfortunately, I couldn't find any particular case when machine learning was better than just simple linear prediction. Probably my client were too boring and we didn't have too many runaway virtual machines. But I tried and I created some artificial spikes in the data, and those artificial spikes were automatically captured, and I got an email. That was working fine. Also, what you can use, you can use ad hoc requests and research using Jupyter notebooks. You have tons of interesting information and interesting tool in Oracle Cloud for autonomous database. So just keep in mind, it is autonomous database with all the cool stuff inside. Not only exadatabase, hardware, storage, and everything else, and compression. No, you have all the tools on top of that. So that's, from my point of view, it's a great benefit, and it can help a lot. If you have, for example, multiple tenancies, and if you properly train your machine learning model, you probably can get really, really early email about something is going wrong, something is fishy in one of your tenancies, and you can provide a great service to a customer or to your management. So that's probably it about my presentation. And if you have any questions, all right, I see.
Yes, we have 4 questions.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So, question from Richard. Free ATP, we can set up to our own domain. Yes, you can. It is so you are not setting up ATP in your domain, but you are setting up in your tenancy, right? If you subscribe to Oracle Cloud, whether it is your own subscription or company subscription, you are entitled to free Oracle Autonomous Database with limitation that it is going to be only 1 CPU per each, and you can use only 20 gigabytes of storage. It is free tier. Free tier, when you run out of CPU or storage, can be easily converted to non-free tier, and in that case, it will be normal autonomous database. Did I answer to the question? All right. How can I copy full schema of data from free ATP to OCI? Best approach. So you can export your data using data pump and import to any other database, in Oracle database, for example, or you can upload your data as CSV, which probably not the easiest way, if you have, for example, 20 gigabytes of in ATP, it is doable, but it could be a little bit difficult. Not impossible, but yes, it will create some big CSV file probably. And as a matter of fact, what I was doing, it is, you probably find that it is tons of information how to put data inside Oracle Autonomous Database, but not too much information how to get data out, right? That I found quite strange. But I was using SQL command line tool, SQL CL tool, and you can get it from the same page as Oracle SQL Developer, and it can create CSV file for you automatically without any problem. You just put the format CSV and dump the file directly from your database. How much would be minimum monthly cost of ownership to have a basic APEX environment? Exactly $0.00. It is how I am using right now. I am using Oracle free tier for my billing dashboard. I'm using Oracle APEX, and as a matter of fact, I'm using the same Oracle APEX and same Oracle Autonomous Database, not only for billing dashboards, for some other small applications I created. So I'm not paying money to Oracle, but I think it is great tool for learning how to work with APEX and some small home development, and not only home development, as a matter of fact. Is it possible to get this APEX app along with Python script? I'm not making my APEX app public because I'm too embarrassed. It has too much, my code is a little bit not tied properly, but I will make it public in someday when I fix all that small issues, when it will be more or less acceptable for consumption by other people, not only by me. But Oracle Python script and APEX, yes, of course you can get it. It is in public in GitHub, and the link inside my presentation, I will create PDF and upload to the file to the catalog, and you can get it from there. Yes. And again, when you get it, you can use it. I don't think it is any kind of limitation about that application from Oracle. I think it is free for use for everyone.
Thank you so much, Gleb. And also he's asking the minimal cost for production environments on OCI. They go in generally, Oracle charge around $1,000 per month as one of the minimum costs they have for them. You don't pay for what you use specifically. You pay a minimum amount, $1,000 per month, and you can use it for any of the products of Oracle. You basically prepaying that way in a discount way with Oracle, but that's kind of the minimum. Sorry for responding that for you, Gleb. But I think so that, Richard, do you have any other questions for Gleb? Hey, Richard is typing. You're not able to speak, you're muted. Yes, I'm muted, but if you want to talk, I can open your mic. Just 1 second. I sent you a request to your user, Richard. You can open your mic.
I see the mic is green.
Yes, I think so. His mic is now open, but cannot hear him.
I don't hear anything, unfortunately.
Richard? I think so. Your mic is not working.
Yeah. It could be because of browser issues on something else. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Richard, in the folder of the APEC group, you will find a tutorial teaching you how to unblock on all browsers your video and sound, but no problem. You can take a look on that. All right. Saying that, thank you so much, Gleb, for your time. It is almost 1 a.m. for you over there in Canada, and it's a privilege always have you supporting the community. And for everybody else, please continue supporting the event. Please register to as much sessions as you can. And with the current pandemic situation, please look after yourself and be safe. Thank you so much, Gleb.
Thank you. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, Richard.
Cheers.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, evening, and day. Bye-bye.
CloudDB, shaping your new normal.